Welcome. I'm Rajimt Eskandone, and I'm delighted to have with me today Seb Peralta, who is an Ayurvedic professional and a practitioner. He's someone that I've been personally going to see for a decade now, and who I'm desperately missing because he is in Ottawa, Canada, and I am in Washington, D.C. So right now I can't go see him. But I still have been reaching out to him at different times for some consultations because he is working virtually for those who can't come and see him in person. So Seb, I want to just jump right in and talk to you about spring cleansing, because spring and fall are two of the main seasons for Ayurveda for doing some sort of a cleanse. And I thought it would be great to reach out to you to first talk about perhaps the benefits of doing a spring cleansing, and then perhaps to give us some tips for those who want to just dip a toe in, people who want to have a more broader experience, and then those who want to go for it. So maybe if we could just start with talking a little bit about the importance of spring cleansing and why Ayurveda, why now? Why this time of year?
Yeah, so you mentioned spring and fall, and while we call it, a spring cleanse, it's really just like a yearly cleanse to reset the system that we all need, we all should be getting, because as we all know, life tends to just keep on giving us more and more toxins and stress and things, so we definitely need to detox those things. The reason spring and fall is the best time of year is essentially just weather, is that it's not too hot and not too cold. Because if it's too cold, then it can slow down the healing process and the detox process. And if it's too hot, you essentially almost speed it up too quickly, and you burn through a lot of the positive help that you are giving your body, like your herbs, or even there's some good toxins out there and stuff. So that's why summer can be not great. It's a little better in the summer than the winter, but not too much. And so that's why we do spring or fall. It's not too hot, not too cold. Spring works especially well just because the world is doing the same thing essentially, right? Mother Nature is doing her own detox towards the end of winter, and with the beginning of spring and summer, she is replenishing and rejuvenating herself. So it's a great time for us to do the same thing. We can kind of feed off each other, and that's why we do it in the spring or fall.
So if you're someone who's never done a cleanse before, not really familiar what it is, what would you recommend for someone who just wants to dip the toe in and do a light cleanse, just to experience some of the benefits, but yet not dive in too deeply?
Yeah, so for someone in that place in their lives, I'd suggest doing just a few days. And we'll talk about things to do during those days, but actually, I would like to point out that something really helpful to do is to actually learn during those days, or before and after as well, but to take that opportunity to learn about how your body reacts, and how it has reacted in the past as well. If you remember, when I was in my 20s, I remember dairy made me feel like this, but I haven't felt that way in years, so I wonder what's changed. And because the more you learn about your own body and how you react to everything, to diet and to life, the better you'll be able to create a cleanse that is tailored for you. Because of course, talking to someone like me can be helpful in giving you a general cleanse, but until you learn your own body, you obviously know yourself best, and that's how we would create, the best cleanse, even if it's only 3 days. Now, during those 3 days, in general, what you want to do is you want to have a very simple diet. Sometimes it's called a mono diet, which essentially just means eating, a few or one type of food during those 2 or 3 days. And the type of food you want to do is something that is easily digestible. It could be something as simple as watermelon. If it's the summertime and you want to do just a simple cleanse, even watermelon for a day or 2 or even 3 days can be a great way to flush your system out. Granted, you have to eat a lot of watermelon to feel full and nourished, and you will go to the bathroom a lot, but it's a great way to flush it out because of that, because you're constantly taking more, you process it so quickly. But it could also be something like plain rice, or in India, it's something called khichdi, which is a mixture of rice and mung dal. You could add a few veggies in there, and so those things are easily digestible. So same thing where you would just eat that for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for a few days. And you drink lots of water. Also, I would suggest some herbs. Triphala is a great one that helps detox the system. Ashwagandha or shatavari is a great way to rejuvenate the system at the same time. There's a number of other detox herbs and things, but those I find are more tailored to a specific person. So I'd suggest doing research about what would be helpful for you. And then the final thing is just a mild body work. And that's really just self-massaging on your extremities. So your hands, your head, and your feet. So if you apply sesame oil, warm sesame oil to those things once a day for those 3 days, it can do a lot to provide your body with much needed lubrication, protection, and nutrients. It'll also really help ground you. So if you're the type of person that in Ayurveda is called Vata, so essentially an airhead and you're kind of all over the place, applying oil to your body, especially your extremities, can be a great way to ground yourself back into your body during that detox period. Because a detox time doesn't mean you necessarily have to flush everything out, or you're trying to get rid of things. You can multitask and at the same time build up and grow the good parts, the things that you want to build up. And that way you're doing it from multiple levels. You're detoxing and rejuvenating. That way when you come out of the 3 days, you won't just feel like a super weak because you haven't eaten properly, or something like that.
And it's always good to do this with a professional like yourself to kind of talk about the program and set it up, and someone that you could check in if you're having any sort of reactions, or if you've got any questions along the way. It's good to have someone that could set up the program and be a resource throughout the program, even if it's a light detox, even if it's a light cleanse. So
yeah, well, if you're talking to someone like me, you can really tailor it for yourself. And so it's definitely beneficial to do that.
Yeah. And then if people wanted to do a little bit more of a deeper cleanse, what is it that you would recommend?
Yeah, so if you wanted to do a deeper cleanse, in terms of herbs, it's actually pretty similar. It just extends the period of time. In terms of diet, it's also pretty similar. It just extends the period of time. It would alter slightly in terms of diet. Doing a full week of doing something like just watermelon might be too long. But doing a week of the khichdi I mentioned, so the rice and mung dal, that you could eat for life. So that one you could do for a week, definitely. For body work, what I would suggest is going deeper into the body. So not only the extremities, but also doing, you know, the legs, the hands, the arms, the back, the neck especially. So the whole body essentially. And of course, that would be better when you see someone like myself or another practitioner, but you could also do that yourself at home. You can apply and do yourself a self-massage. You can just talk to someone like me about the best way to do that, or just do some research online about how to do that. But again, it's sesame oil. Warm sesame oil is a great thing to use. In terms of length of time, I'd say a week would be a good, you know, middle detox strength. So you're not going to be exhausted necessarily by the end of the week, but it'll be able to not only detox more, but you'll really be able to rejuvenate a lot more during that week. And even for the weeks afterwards, you'll notice things might be shifting at that time. So I'd say about a week would be a good length of time for you know, a good detox, but nothing too crazy.
And that's what I've been doing with you for all these years, was trying to do a week of that, getting treatments from you for 7 days for 1 week in the spring and 1 week in the fall. And I found it extraordinarily rejuvenating, and helped with a whole bunch of little creaks and you know, little health bumps that I was experiencing. So just throw my experience in there. And then for those who really want to go full in, or who are perhaps dealing with an ongoing health issue, or a serious health issue, or a major transition in their life, whatever it is, what is it that you would recommend?
Yeah, so you mentioned it earlier, Panchakarma. So that is the Ayurvedic detox program, essentially. It's the 1 week minimum, and then it can go up to, I mean, depending if you have a very serious issue and stuff, it could go up to 2 months, but generally it's 3 to 4 weeks for like a good deep cleanse for most people. And the process of Panchakarma is what we talked about in terms of following a simple, easily digestible diet, taking certain herbs. The type of herbs can change if you're doing it for a long period of time. So, you know, if you want to focus on a certain area, then you would have a herb that would help that thing. But in terms of bodywork, so you would be receiving treatments. If you're receiving Panchakarma from someone like me, you would be receiving treatments. Generally, it's the same type of treatment for 1 week. So just to give you an example, right now I'm doing Panchakarma with someone and she's doing 2 weeks. So the first week we have a full body massage and a Shirodhara, it's called, which is just kind of like a massage on the brain. Then the second week we do a deeper type of massage called bolus bag, and that's dry powder herbs in a little bolus bag mixed with warm medicated oil, and that's what I use to massage. And that of course goes deeper into the system. It gets the herbs into the system as well as the oil. And that's the second week. If she was doing a third week, we would find other treatments that go even deeper into it. And then at the end of the 3 weeks, we would do a big purge, basically. And depending on the person, that would be a different type of thing. But often it's a purgation. So you would take some type of medicine where you would go to the bathroom for half the day or so. And the idea behind that is that during the 3 weeks, we build up a lot of the toxins. And while some of them will be released, not all of them. So the purgation is the way to really purge all of those toxins from our system. And that's what I do when I go to India. I know that I can't afford to do that every year, unfortunately, but I try to go every 2 or 3 years as much as possible. And I've done it 5 or 6 times in the 10 years I've been doing this. And somehow every time I go, I learn something new about myself. I realize, it's like, I didn't think that there was anything wrong with my body odor, but no, turns out I was smelling a little more than I should have been, or, my internal temperature control was off, I realized a few years ago. So no matter how much you do it, you can always do more, it seems.
Yeah, and it seems like there's always, something new going on too. It's a very different experience each and every time. But for me, something that's been consistent each time is that how rejuvenated I feel. And one thing that always stands out to me, and everyone who does it, is how beautiful their skin is at the end of it. Like, everyone glows, everyone looks 10 years younger, because I've done it, a number of times now, the 3 weeks in India with a group of friends, and of all ages, from 70, 80-year-olds all the way down to 14, 15-year-olds. And at the end of it, everyone looks so completely different. Just incredible, the shifts in everyone at the end of it. And for me personally, like, now it's like my body just starts to crave it in the springtime, that it wants that. It wants that cleanse. It knows, my body knows it needs it, and it knows how it's going to feel afterwards, kind of the rewards. So anything else that you feel like adding just about on the general theme of spring cleansing?
Yeah, so I kind of touched on it briefly, but when you do a cleanse, the whole point of it is to shift what's going on within you. So I keep in mind that after the cleanse, whether it's 3 days or 3 weeks, it's not that it's over right at those 3 days or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Especially if you do the 3 weeks, you notice things will continue to change and shift for the weeks afterwards, or the days afterwards if you're just doing 3 days. So it can be, you wouldn't be fully readjusted until, I'd say, half the length of time of whatever your detox was, right? So if you did 3 days, give it another day or two before you are fully rebalanced. So just keeping that in mind, that if you feel off the day after, that can be pretty normal. Or if you do 3 weeks, feeling a little off for the week or even 2 weeks after that can be normal, and it is part of the process, because you've essentially you've changed your whole system internally, your digestion, everything, but also externally, your skin and stuff, and also your brain. So just being aware that things take time to readjust.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, listen, Seb, I just want to thank you so much for spending this time with me and helping share some wisdom about spring cleansing. And I'll include your contact information here so that if people want to do a guided cleanse, whether it's light or deep, it might be something they can either do, get guidelines from you to do at a distance, or if they're in Ottawa, to do in person. So thank you, Seb. Thanks for being with me.
Thank you so much, Rajan.